You know, Daisy, there's something about suicide doors. Gets me right here. Yeah, right here. I'm LT, and this is my garage. Alright, back at it today. I want to finish this door today, totally, so no goofing off. Hinges are in. They're not done, but they're in and they're operational. So now I can move forward to the latch and the striker and then go back to the hinges for some finishing work, and I'll go over how I got them done in this truck. So stick around. This is a bear claw style latch. It's got kind of a claw there. That is gonna end up having to get put in there like so. Cool thing is I got this plate here. The latch bolts to. Real nice finish there. So this, once I figure out the placement of the latch, this will get welded in like that. Cleaned up, it'll look like it's factory. Alright, this mark here is the center of my hinges, and this mark here, slightly above it, is the center of my door. And I'm gonna look out here because there's a brace back here that's holding the window channel in place, and it's right in a position where I could center this latch pretty much right where my mark is, where the center of the door happens to be. So that's gonna work out. That's gonna be my mark to go off of. Alright, I'm going to keep digging that out of there. Cutting out all that structure that they put there for a reason. But anyway, Suicide Doors. So, trimmed this up. Trimmed all that out of there. Went ahead and trimmed an access hole there so I can get at the release assembly there. That'll fit in there, something like that. So I'm just gonna keep cleaning that up, and then we can weld that in there. Nothing to it but to do it. Let's go. I need to figure out where to put the striker in the door jamb now. So, I'll close this door. Lined up with the rocker panel nice. So I'm gonna peek in here. I can see where my latch is. That's the center of it. I'm gonna make a mark of the jam right there. And then I'm gonna trace the door jamb under the door. And that's just for reference, side to side. Got the up and down, and then I'll have side to side. It's funny, I have the complete ability to raise this truck up. Super easy, but here I am sitting on the ground, breaking my knees, messing up my ankles. Got my mark here on the door jamb where I'm going to want this to be. This is what that claw grabs onto. It's got some adjustment in it. It's got the cage nut on the back of this plate. I think you'd call that a cage nut. I mean, it's a nut in a cage, right? Well, I don't think they want to extend the warranty on my '78 Chevy LUV. I am gonna have to trim this just a hair so it can sit in there right. Otherwise it's gonna bring it too far in. But it's gonna work out perfect. I just gotta trim it right up to that cage and it can go right in there. And then I need to decide if I wanna cut a big square out of this or if I just wanna cut that hole and mount this from behind. I'll figure that out in a minute. Because another thing you need to keep in mind is how far forward or back this needs to be. So I'm gonna look into that now. So right now, there's about a ½ inch gap between the door jamb on the truck side and the door side. So I'm gonna have to make sure that this is gonna go into that bear claw nicely. And if I need to bring it out, I can, or weld that plate in further towards the front. Just gonna have to do a little bit of measuring, a little bit of figuring, a little bit of guessing, and a whole lot of hoping. It's actually looking like if I mounted this flush in that door jamb, it's gonna work out perfect. Because there's a washer that goes under this anyway. Should be right on. So, all right, let's make it happen. Got this striker plate all welded in there. We'll have to do a lot of finishing work later on. I'm not too worried about it right now. I'm gonna put the striker in so we can swing this door shut and see if it actually latches. Alright, here goes nothing. That sounded good, didn't it? Alright, now to see if we can get it back open. Sure enough. Alright, now we got our latch in, striker in. I'm gonna move back to the hinges and continue with where I left off with those. There is a lot to keep in mind when you're doing these hinges. You're gonna have to look in your pillar, see what kind of room you have, see where there's braces and all that other stuff. You're gonna have to look in your door, make sure there's room for the pockets that hold the hinge straps, and figure out where you can put things without getting in the way of your window and all that other stuff. Another thing you want to keep in mind is the further apart your hinges are, the stronger it's going to be, the more rigid it's going to be. So when I looked into my B-pillar, I saw that there is this brace right here, and I knew that I could take that brace and weld my upper hinge pocket to it, and that's gonna give me a little bit more strength in my system here. And I went down as far as possible to figure out where my lower hinge can be, and I made a note of that. And since these hinges need to be 100% perfectly in line with each other for this to operate right, what I did was, when I figured out how far apart they could be, I laid them out on a flat table and I put a piece of angle iron that I welded from one to the other, so I knew that they're perfectly straight. And I left that there. I left the angle iron in there so the hinges are connected together as well as welded into the truck here. So once I figured out where these hinges are gonna live, I needed to figure out how far in or out they needed to be. This particular truck gave me a little bit harder time than I've ran into before, mainly because of this body line here and how far back this is. So the first time I opened it, that body line on the door was eating that body line on the truck maybe when it was 45 degrees open, and that's no good. So I had to look at it and figure out how I can make that door swing wider, because with what I was working with here, I couldn't put a Z in the hinge strap. I had to figure out how to make this work. And when you think about it, these hinges, they have a hinge pin, which is basically a pivot point. Just think of it as a big circle. So what I figured was, if I move the hinge pockets back, that's gonna widen my circle, and this door is gonna swing out wider and it won't hit that body line. And that's how I was able to fix this. And I just moved it back to where these two bolts are still holding, and I'm gonna add some material to this. I'm gonna use that fancy metal glue gun I have and just add material to it so I can grab all three, and I should be good. You'll run into something every single time, so it's just part of it. You only tack things into place, you make it work, you move it around. That's why none of this welding in this door or this jam is finished, because I got this working and I moved to the latch, and I'm coming back and I'm gonna finish this stuff up. So I actually leave the factory door handle, the factory latch, and the factory hinges all intact. And then I work on my new hinges on the inside with this door closed. And I get all that put together where I think it's gonna work. Then I climb out the other side, come around here, with the fender off, I can unbolt that factory hinge. Grab the factory door handle, and it'll release the factory latch, and this will open up backwards. At that point, you notice the door drop, because all the strength in this door is up front. Because when they built the truck, that's the area that's holding up this door. But now we're doing it the other way around, and that structure isn't back here, so you got to put it back here. When you open up that door, it'll drop, and you can actually watch the sheet metal where your hinges are bow, so you can see where you need to add that structure. In this case, I just added this flat bar here, this flat stock, and it's welded to both my pockets and the door, and that took care of that for me. So now I'm gonna finish these hinge pockets in this door jamb. I'm gonna finish this door jamb out real nice. Well, maybe not real nice, but nice enough for now, until I move on to the body work and all that other stuff. But I'm gonna close all these up so they look good. I guess first thing to do is take this door back off. Now I traced the dash there, so obviously this isn't the original dash of this truck. This is a 1956 Mercury dash. These LUV door panels taper up here, and that's, I don't know, that's just gonna, I feel like that's gonna drive me nuts if that painted top of the door meets my painted dash and it just doesn't make sense. So I'm gonna make it make sense. Like, so it'll end up being something more like that. But I don't know how I'm gonna do that yet. I'm just gonna make that mark for now, because this door's coming off and I don't know when it's going back on. So if I end up finishing this door in that other room, I at least know that that's where the dash is. Is that good? Good? All right. She approves. I gotta get out of the way because I gotta keep going. far as I'm going to take these now. I'll get back to those when I'm doing body work and getting this thing ready for paint. So now I can move on to something else. I'm going to go clean up my mess. You hit that subscribe button. Check out my other videos. Make sure you stick around and watch So LUV get finished and whatever other custom projects come along.